Hi, welcome to the Environmental Commission's presentation on sustainable business practices. My name is Rick Bernardini. I'm the chairman of the commission, and we're going to have a presentation tonight by Quirk, who owns a local business here, Bowfish. So we're going to have we'll hold all your questions till the end of the presentation, and also if you have questions, if you're online, put them in the chat, and we'll address them at the end as well. So at this point, I'm going to give you to Caitlin.
Thank you, everybody. Welcome to Activating Sustainability. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you who came to listen to me speak tonight and also who are watching on Zoom, so thank you. We're going to get right into it. So before we get started, I thought it was important to share a little bit of my story and how I arrived here talking to all of you fine people. So, hi, my name is Caitlin Quirk, and I am the owner of Bowfish. I'm also a commissioner here in Ocean City, New Jersey, on the Environmental Commission. And briefly, I want to share my story. When I started my businesses, they were not with sustainability in mind, but they did grow to evolve into being sustainable businesses. So in 2013, I opened my first business, Bowfish Kids, on the boardwalk in Ocean City, New Jersey. And actually, the name of the business was Bengals and Bows Boutique. And we eventually ended up changing our name and our location and moved downtown, which allowed us to be part of our year-round community here in Ocean City, which is my favorite part of Ocean City. And that move allowed us to expand into Bowfish Studios in 2017. And then in 2019, September specifically, I kind of had a pretty big aha moment. I watched the United Nations Climate Action Summit, and that's really kickstarted my journey for trying to achieve sustainability in my businesses. Later, 6 months later, opened Drift Spaces, and in 2023, January, I was actually appointed to the Ocean City Environmental Commission. So that leaves 2025. Who knows what's up next, but we will see. So my sustainability journey, it started in 2019 with that United Nations Climate Action Summit, right? I watched that, and after watching that, I had a pretty impactful interaction with one of my customers that really left me with the feeling of responsibility for her future, right? She came into my store, she had been coming in for years, and she was all grown up now, and, I had that interaction with her, and it led me to creating this logo, which we use for our sustainability efforts. It's called For Their Future, meaning everything that we do in our business is with their future in mind. So the kids, are our customers. And then in 2020, we kind of all know what happened there. The world's focus changed, my focus changed, but that allowed me to take some time really asking questions. And that led me to taking a trip in 2021 to the Cape May County dump. And after that trip, I had a whole life change, right? I learned during that trip that of the 12 landfills that are currently left in the state of New Jersey, I learned that they had an average closure date of 2040. So that means if you have a kindergartner or you know of somebody that's in kindergarten, by the time they graduate college, there will only be 5 landfills left in the state of New Jersey. Scarier is by 2051, there will only be 1 left. 1 landfill left. Can anybody guess which landfill that is? Yeah, Cape May County. They will be closing because they're at max capacity, yes. So we are very fortunate in Cape May County to have the landfill with the largest capacity left. But my fear is, what happens when North Jersey starts looking south, right? Where are we going to put this stuff? So that's really what motivates me. And that's what motivated me in 2022 to start implementing waste reduction strategies across the board. So really, it's important to understand what is sustainability, right? I really like this definition from Penn State, and I'll just read it really quickly. It says, sustainability is the simultaneous pursuit of human health and happiness, environmental quality, and economic well-being for current and future generations. I think I like it because of the future generations fixation. But really, what does that mean in practice, right? So before we go into how to practice sustainability, I think it's important to know these three things. First, being that there's no such thing as 100% sustainability. If someone comes up to you and say, oh, I have the most sustainable hair bow that exists on the market, right? That is a hot tip in identifying that either someone is very ignorant on the topic or they're greenwashing you. Because there's no possible way that they're 100% sustainable. It's just not achievable at this point in time. So another thing that's important to keep in mind is that sustainability means something different to each one of us. And like us, it's constantly evolving. For illustration purposes, I did a quick Google search, and I searched, what are the areas of sustainability diagram? And this is what the search produced. I'll read them. It says, what are the 3 main areas of sustainability? What are the 4 pillars? What are the 5 C's? What are the 5 R's? What are the 3 C's? What are the 3 P's? I mean, I'm just getting overwhelmed just reading that list. And what I want to make sure is that when you start thinking more sustainably, that you don't get overwhelmed like that, because that is the first thing that happened to me, to be honest, is I experienced what is called climate paralysis. You just kind of feel like there's just too much to overcome, too much things that need to be changed, right? But what I concluded from that is just that sustainability means something different to each one of us. And because we live our lives completely differently, and our businesses are completely differently, we all have to look at sustainability differently. So for BOFISH and our operations, sustainability meant focusing on eliminating trash and waste wherever we could. For the Walt Disney Company, that means practicing sustainability in their energy reduction and changing their energy production to being all net zero. So it just is going to look different for everybody, and you just want to keep that in mind. Third thing that you need to know is that everything in our lives can be innovated, examined, and updated on a regular basis. That's because everything is evolving and changing, and so are your sustainability standings. Like where I was 5 years ago versus where I am today are completely different, and what goals we had are completely different. But everything should be innovated with future generations in mind. Like what are my practices, and how is that going to affect 50 years from now? So why is this important? Why does anybody care about sustainability, right? Well, before we get into that, full disclosure, I want to explain the current generations that are existing at this time on the planet. I currently fall within the millennials generation. We are ages 28 to 45. And according to current data, in the United States, we have a collective buying power of $2.5 trillion. Our generation holds significant spending power across various industries and represents the largest adult population. Next up for concern is Gen Zers. They are ages 12 to 27, and American Gen Zers have a collective estimated buying power of $150 billion and counting. So why is this important, right? Well, it's important because we, the millennials and Gen Zers in the room, are the future family tradition makers of Ocean City, New Jersey. And we have a lot of spending power, right? And what do we care about? So I pulled this Deloitte Global 2024 Gen Z Millennial Survey. This survey is of more than 22,000 Gen Zers and millennials across 44 countries. And this is what we had to say. So the percent of millennial and Gen Zers that have stopped or lessened a relationship with the business due to unsustainable practices, 24 and 25%. It's not a crazy amount, but still 1/4 of the population, not insignificant. Percent of millennial and Gen Zers that have already changed or plan to change a job or industry due to climate concerns. I have a really quick story about this one. In 2020, Bowfish launched its e-commerce website, as did everybody during the pandemic. And we actually had a employee who became consultant and later dear friend who left Spirit Halloween's e-commerce department to help Bowfish build our website. And she did so solely because we aligned with her sustainability goals. So, lesson there is that a commitment to sustainability is now an attractive hiring source. Okay, moving on, and I'm going to skip ahead to the last point here because I think it's the most important. Percent of millennial and Gen Zers that are willing to pay more to purchase environmentally sustainable products. This one's huge. 63 and 64% are willing to spend more money on a product, which is a stark difference from our parents' generations, right? Whose main goal, grandma, right, is always saving a buck. Yep. So if you plan on being in business 10 years from now, these changes in lifestyle and shopping habits are your future sales trends, and it's important to be aware of them. All right, so getting right into, if I skipped ahead, what can we do about it? So we know why it's important. What can we do about it, right? Well, I tried to boil it down to 3 things that I felt like you can actually take action on. So most importantly is just rethinking. So rethinking your mindset and your commitments, rethinking your processes and your supply chain, and rethinking your communication. So first thing you have to do is come up with a plan, right? And when Bowfish started down our sustainability journey 2019, we came up with 5 commitments. We said we're going to commit to these 5 things over the next 5 years to try and work towards sustainability. So first thing was we stopped using microplastics in our glitter, which we achieved in 2021. The next initiative we had was to limit our CO2 footprint with solar panels. Unfortunately, we were not able to achieve that because of a blockade from the utility company, unfortunately. Salty about that one. The next thing we had a goal of was focusing on carrying only sustainable brands. And as of today, we have 100% sustainable apparel brands that meet our sustainability standards, which I'm going to actually show you later. And the next thing we had was become a New Jersey certified sustainable business, which we achieved this year. And final thing was to support local and global climate action campaigns, which is a commitment we continue to do today. Okay, so what do you need to do? You just need to come up with 5 things that you want to challenge yourself on over the next 5 years. And it's important to do that because it will help you from getting overwhelmed. When you look at all the things that need to occur, it's very easy to, not know where to start. So if you just focus on 5 things over 5 years, that's more than what you will do if you didn't have those goals. So, how can I change my mindset? First and foremost, you have to embrace the discomfort of change, right? Most people hate change. It's not something that people like, but it's something that you have to get used to, right? And not only that, but you have to be willing to change things that might currently be working in your business that you should kind of revisit. For example, you might have a paper towel guy, right? Like you have your paper towels delivered every week or every month from the same guy. You pay him. You don't have to think about it, right? It's already done. But, sorry, I just you have your paper towel guy, but maybe that is something you need to look at and change. So Another thing you should be doing is asking a lot of questions. How can we change things to have a focus on how it will affect the future, specifically our kids' future? Is the convenience worth the long-term cost? Is the sustainable option actually beneficial? Just some things that you have to keep in mind. So next thing you're going to rethink is your processes in your supply chain, and this is kind of where I'm going to spend the bulk of my time chatting about. And I broke it down into two parts. So first thing you're going to do and take action on is thinking about everything in your business that you can eliminate. Next, you're going to think out all of the vendors that you currently work with, how to maybe switch it up or switch up an offering that you're purchasing from them. So part one, elimination. So if you can eliminate the unnecessary, you'll end up buying less, you can reuse more, you'll save money, and you'll gain credibility with specifically those Gen Z and millennial customers. One thing I wanted to share with you is how we tried to eliminate bags at Bowfish, because we all know what happened with that single plastic bag ban that happened, right? Everybody just moved to plastic or paper bags or those fabric ones that we all have a million of from the grocery store. Just for illustration purposes, I have some costs out here. The plain Cub bag, which doesn't have any branding or anything on it, costs 3 cents a bag. If you purchase 10,000 bags a year, that's a $3,000 cost. And to be honest, not everybody needs a bag, right? So we had to change our customer interaction around how they received the items that they were purchasing. Our Bowfish gift bag that we give costs us 64 cents a bag. So if you do 10,000, that's $6,400 a year. So my goal was like, all right, well, how do I cut that out entirely? What we did is we changed that interaction. So I'm just going to do a little role playing here with you. So customer comes up, they purchase a book, a stuffed animal, and a little onesie, right? And I wrap it up and I put it in a bag and I hand it to them and they pay and they leave, okay? I just hand them the bag, they gladly accept it, right? So what we tried to do is actually change the interaction that our employee was having. So new directive there and operating, standard operating procedure around this is when the customer comes up, the first thing I actually ask them is, oh, wow, is this a gift? And then they say, oh, no, it's not. Okay, great. So instead, I actually wrap the items in a nice piece of tissue paper like this. We leave a little pleated pocket, and we can put the receipt in there. And then I hand it to them, and they go on their way. And I will say, 8 out of the 10 times, most of the time people will just accept the package and put it in the bag that they already have or in their stroller. And by doing that, now my cost of giving them their item went from $500 a year, or went from $6,400 a year to $500 a year. So not insignificant cost, especially when you think of credit card fees, how much they are, right? If you can save 50 cents per transaction, sounds like an attractive deal. Another thing that we tried to eliminate at Bowfish was shipping boxes. We have packages that come in every day, and we would normally just put them in the trash. So how can we reuse that? How we decided to do that is when we get a shipping box in that works for the sizing that we need, we save it, and then we just put our nice eco-friendly tape on it that's printed with algae ink and made with paper. And then we chuck this little sticker on the side of it, and I can tell you what the sticker says. It says, at Bowfish, we care. We tried to ship in gently used boxes to reduce our environmental impact. Please excuse the appearance of the box. It's what's on the inside that counts. And I was recently in Iceland, and I took a sign of this picture at a cafe that we were in, and they actually charge you for using their cups. So they said, think green. For takeaway drinks, bring your own reusable cup to save money. Our takeaway cups are 40 cents a piece. 40 cents. For a coffee order, that is definitely covering the credit card transaction fee, right? 40 cents. So in the name of sustainability, you can save money, right, by toting that, hey, we're doing this for environmental purposes, especially if it's a Gen Z or a millennial customer. They're not actually going to appreciate that, right? They're going to be like, all right, I'll gladly pay for you for that 40-cent cup, you know? So a practice that I would love to see you guys do is look at your business and just look at all of the single-use, reoccurring expenses that you can eliminate from your P&L. Another thing that we did was shipping printer paper. We don't have to buy printer paper anymore because every box that comes in comes with a packing slip, and they only use one side of the packing slip. So what we end up doing is just scrapping the backside, and now we don't have to pay for paper anymore. Just little things like that. We also don't give out receipts anymore. We'll email them. Just trying to cut the cost wherever you can. Going further with elimination is how great would it be if it was actually town-wide? So currently there is a Skip the Stuff initiative that is been adopted in several other cities in the state of New Jersey. And again, just kind of going back to the bag example, it's just re-engineering the habit that your staff has with your customer. So this is an example from a takeout restaurant in Ocean City. And actually, I would give them an 8.5 out of 10. They didn't include plastic utensils. The bag or the boxes they have are pretty minimal. Where they kind of got in trouble here was just with the ketchup. They just threw 1 million packets of ketchup in there, right? Has anybody ever been to Chick-fil-A? Yeah. You know, when you're in that Chick-fil-A line, you got to tell them how many sauces you want, right? So again, they figured out, well, why are we just wasting money on these things that people are throwing away anyway? So how can we cut that? So now they ask you what sauce you want. So in this ordinance, the ordinance basically is changing that. So the ordinance prohibits the distribution of all single-use food service items for takeout or delivery orders unless requested by the customer. So you're putting the responsibility back on them. It's just, hey, if you want that, you have to ask, instead of the habit of our employees just stuffing the bag with all the stuff, right? All right. So it is estimated that 40 billion individual single-use plastic utensils are discarded every year in the United States. So imagine what that would eliminate for our landfills and also our trash pickup if those didn't exist anymore. These are some of the other towns that have already adopted these ordinances, which is Westfield, Hoboken, Eatontown, Garwood, and Maplewood. All right, so I wanted to give you guys, too, a good view of, if you are considering switching to sustainable practices, some of the things that are, best to worst as far as sustainability goes. So worst thing you could do is just give the customer a plastic cup or a plastic spoon for their sample for their ice cream, right? The next best thing you could do is use a bio-based material, which is paper or wood. But again, it's just a cost that your business is incurring. Why have that at all? Goji, huge shout out to them. I love what they've done. What they do is they have their reusable jar. They charge you for that when you buy a juice, and then when you bring the jar back, you actually get a discount on your purchase. And then, for instance, the spoons up top, I don't understand the ice cream shops. Like, why? You could just stop spending money on those plastic spoons and just reuse spoons that you have to wash, right? This one I actually got really excited about because I actually didn't do the hard numbers until this presentation to see how much we were actually saving. One of the other things I had a war against was paper towels. Like, I hate spending money on paper towels. They're so expensive, and you use them for 3 seconds, and then they just go in the trash, right? So we switched to reusable and washable paper towels, which you can see on that blue sink. They're just cute little patterns, right? So for 200 pieces, which gets me plenty enough for the business to be able to wash them in time, we paid $366 one time. Before that, we were using a company called Who Gives a Crap. I really liked their branding, and they also are plastic free, and their paper towels are made from 100% recycled material. That was costing me $500 a year because we were using 180 rolls a year. If you currently are buying your Bounty paper towel rolls from Staples, I hate to tell you this, but you're getting ripped off big time. $830 a year if you were purchasing 180 pieces, which if you're in a business and you have a bathroom, like that's going to happen. So that's an easy thing. I mean, I don't have that reoccurring cost every year. And for, $500, that's a software that I could be buying for my business instead of just sending it to the landfill, right? So moving on, if you can't eliminate it, right, that means you have to switch it to something more sustainable or a more circular choice. But what makes a product or a vendor more sustainable? First thing before we get into that, I really want to make everyone aware of is greenwashing. Companies have recognized that there is a huge opportunity to make money off of parading around as sustainable or green products. If someone is doing the work of having sustainable efforts, they're going to tell you exactly what they're doing. So anytime I want to work or buy from a new company, first thing I do, go on their website, I look on their footer, see on their sustainability tab, and I read their statement because it's very clear. So for instance, the one on the left says, "We are committed to reducing our carbon footprint wherever possible," which kind of is just a nicer way to say whenever it's convenient, right? So what if it's not convenient, they're not doing it? The company on the right, they are telling you very specifically the things that they're doing. So we are committed to sourcing products that support conservation and protect our planet. We have implemented energy conservation efforts through goal setting and solar panel installation. So they're telling you very specifically the things that they're doing. They are also a 1% for the planet member, which if they're doing that, 1% of their net profits get donated to environmental causes when they're a part of this. So that if you see a 1% for the planet member, they're directly giving money to environmental causes. So another thing that's a hot topic amongst eco advocates is compostable products, right? It's one of those things where I feel conflicted about it because sure, you're preying on people who want to make a change and do something that's more environmentally friendly, but it might not work. You're just selling them fluff, right? So I want to tell you a quick story about how I had a pizza party this one time at Bowfish with the kids, and we tie-dyed some shirts, and of course, me being concerned about sustainability, I gave them the compostable plastic gloves. Well, that was a mistake because the dye ate through the gloves and the kids' hands were blue. So that was a complete fail. And I mean it when I say compostable products fail, and I put a little asterisk saying when consumed in South Jersey. And that's true because where do they go after you've used them? I can tell you nowhere in South Jersey because there's not a commercial composting facility anywhere here. There's only 2 in New Jersey, and they're both up in North Jersey. So sure, you're buying the compostable products, but unless it's going to a commercial compost facility, it's going to just end up in the landfill. So.
What are your thoughts on just, I've been to a lot of places that you use compostable products and it's fantastic, but then you see that it just goes in a black trash. Mm-hmm. That's doing nothing.
No,
it's just going to sit in that bag for 1,000 years and not do any good. Mm-hmm. So that's another sort of, I guess, greenwashing thing that people don't. I brought it up and people are like, well, I'm using
Yeah. I mean, it's because people are feeling the pressure, right? It's like, okay, people want to do sustainable practices. So like, okay, I'm going to buy the compostable cups. But again, they're not going anywhere that's going to benefit the environment unless we had a commercial compost facility in the state of New Jersey, in South Jersey, but that's never going to happen. So yeah. Not that I know of. So so what happens is they'll have haulers that will come. So like they might have a program there, but the haulers will haul it offsite. Yeah. So sadly, nowhere in South Jersey will the compostable products get broken down. To circle back around to the tie-dye debacle, what I really should have done instead of buying the greenwash products of the compostable gloves is instead just bought the really high quality gloves that I could be using for Bowfish birthday parties for the next 10 years. So you have to ask yourself these questions when you are considering switching up your products or your vendors. What is the product made of? What's its lifespan? What is it packaged in? Where is it made? Where does it ship from? What are the company's practices and values? You know, when Bowfish started asking these questions of our vendors, that's when it became very clear to me that sustainability means something different for everyone. Every one of my vendors were saying, oh, well, we do this, or we have organic products, but really, how do you gauge if someone's sustainable or not? So over the past 5 years, Bowfish came up with this sustainability checklist, and we require any new vendor to check off 2 of those items, so not just one. Because one of the things that I was finding was, okay, great, you're using organic cotton, but you packaged in plastic 6 times, and it ships all the way from China and all these other things that are not sustainable. So people will try and squeeze their way into saying, oh yeah, we do this, so that means we're sustainable. But again, there's no such thing as 100% sustainability, so it's just, you have to look at all of their efforts, not just 1 or 2. Don't want to spend too much here, but, you know, these are the things that you should focus on, obviously, with the products that are coming into the business. But now we kind of have to discuss about what happens when things leave the business, right? And what is our responsibility for the waste that our business generates? This is currently the back of Bowfish, and I kind of put this picture here as a self-roasting because it's not a great situation. It's something that we're redesigning currently, that we were trying to work through. It'd be really great if we maybe had some larger cans, like maybe 86-gallon or 96-gallon, to put those big bags in. But for now, our plan is to recreate and redesign this space, and not only for our cardboard and bag trash, but for our compost setup as well. So Bowfish created a community compost, which I felt super passionate about when I learned that 25% of the material that's in landfills is food waste. So I thought, okay, well, if you just take out a quarter of what's in the landfills, like, that'd be a great way to slow down the longevity of it, right? So the compost system worked really great. We used this system called SubPod, and it's one of my favorite systems. But in the reality of the business world, I would kind of say that the project a little bit failed, right? We had it for 3 years, and we decided that it's better to go in a direction that required less maintenance on our end. The SubPod system is actually really great if you have someone who can look at it every week and turn it and interact with it. But in a commercial setting, it really wasn't the best option. And I wouldn't say it was 100% a failure. We did learn a lot, and we had several people sign up that are interested in using our new system. But I really wanted to bring this up because I wanted to remind everyone that when you are trying new things, you are going to fail, like most of the time, right? You must try, fail, try again, and do it repeatedly sometimes. But it's important to at least work through the failures and extract whatever gold you can. And what I had extracted from this experience is that this system would be really great in a school system, maybe not a business system. So the new system, and this is our newest plan for our trash setup out back, is to create more of a corral system that cardboard boxes can kind of slide in and out of. When it's just on the ground, it creates a lot of down waste. It falls over. So we're going to be creating more of a corral to protect the trash. And then we also have been working on installing this new system. It's called the Aero Bin. And this is definitely more of a set it and forget it kind of model. You just literally feed it in the top like a trash can. And as you can see, like the dirt just will pile up. And it is a vermicomposting system. So the worms help eat through the material. But when it gets to the bottom, obviously that's what they call black gold. Then you can extract that and put it on your yard and your gardens. So we're excited to set that up. Another thing that I just want to scream this from the top of the rooftops to every business owner is about this SBDI program. I can't speak to the lighting aspect of it, but this past February, of course, Beaufish's heating HVAC unit died while I was out of the country. And we got really lucky. We were working with Broadleys at the time, and they helped us take advantage of this SBDI program, and we did get 80% of the new HVAC unit covered by this program. And it's not one of those programs that you're like, all right, well, you got to, pay up front and we'll give you the money back later. It was at the purchase price, which is really amazing. So even if you don't own your building, it's something you should let your landlords know because you can update it, which will then lower your energy costs. Okay, so moving on to our final point is that you need to rethink your communication. How you explain the new changes in your business regarding your sustainability efforts will make or break you, especially when communicating to your team. So I said, who should you be communicating this to? I said, your team, and then your customers. It is hard to get your team to buy in if it isn't their passion, right? So how do you rally them around these new things and not be a burden to them? I can tell you that I got most of my pushback from, the ladies that work for me about the bag because they don't want the confrontation with the customer, right? But if you just train them around, the words that you use are really important around it. So communicating it first and foremost to them and getting them to buy in, it will be a lot easier then when you get to your customers. And finally, it's really important to think your communication in an omni-channel way. So it's got to be everywhere, consistent, at your cash register, on your receipts, on social media, your website, your in-store signage, all of your marketing materials, even if you put it on your merch, just keeping that messaging consistent. And finally, rethinking our communication to the future customers of Ocean City. I believe that this is a really big opportunity for us in Ocean City to attract new customers to come to Ocean City. Just a reminder back to that Deloitte study where I said that 63% and 64% of Gen Zers are willing to pay more for sustainable products. I can tell you that they'll probably be willing to pay more to come to a place that is making those efforts, right? They want to be in a community that matches the values that they have, which family values and, eco-tourism are very much aligned. So I believe it can definitely be the future for Ocean City. All right, in conclusion, what should I do next? So just remember these key things that there is no such thing as being 100% sustainable, that sustainability looks different to each and every one of us. It's constantly evolving. There's a lot of opportunity here, especially for the Gen Z generation, because everything needs to be updated and innovated. We all have a lot of opportunity to make those changes. And also a reminder that people are going to make money off of selling me things with greenwashing that I might not need. So my goal here is not to have you leave this presentation and go spend a bunch of money on compostable products, because that's not really going to make that big of a difference. If anything, just changing your mindset around how you're purchasing is going to go the longest way. So if you can come up with 5 goals over the next 5 years, that will set you on a path that will be very impactful for your business in those types of changes that you're looking to make around sustainability. Another thing I would recommend is considering getting a certification. BOFAS tried to get the B Corp certification, but it's one of the harder ones to get. It's very rigorous. We recently became a New Jersey sustainable registered business, and I would highly suggest everyone starting there. It's a good place to learn the questions that they're asking you and some of the things that will help you with goal setting, and that will help you if you do want to go for a higher level of certification. And the last thing you can do is consider supporting a Skip the Stuff initiative here in our town. So that's it. And here's my info if anybody would like to chat further. Thank you all for coming. You're nice friends and family. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah?
What are some things or planned things that the city is going to be doing?
The question was, what are some of the planned things that the city is doing? Well, specifically, I know the Environmental Commission is looking to sponsor the Skip the Stuff initiative. I'm not sure what else the city is doing. I know me personally, I'm working very hard on trying to get a compost in the primary school. So that's something I'm personally working on. Yeah. Anybody have any other questions?
I had a quick one. The Skip the Stuff one, really great idea. Not my business industry, but I'm a big fan of getting stuff, like takeout. And how would you, how does the commission view the way to educate people who are buying this stuff? If you're not going to, if they have to ask for it, I guess I'm just looking at the perspective of the business owner who might have to deal with an angry customer because they didn't get their stuff.
Right.
Because they didn't ask for it. They don't know that they're supposed to ask for it. So how would you get the word out so they would do that?
Yeah, I think you would have to definitely do like a signage campaign and educational campaign around it. My vision for it is like making like a larger thing, right? If we are going for eco-OC, this is one of the ways that we're doing it. We can also reach out to some of the other towns to see how they handled that issue. I know we have like a very unique set of issues here being a coastal resort community. So how do you get people that are coming in every week, different set of people, how do you get them to understand that? And I think it would just have to be like a definite group effort, putting out signage. Maybe it's signage at the business. Maybe it's one of those magnets that's in every one of the rentals. And I think just like the bag ban, eventually people will catch on.
Sorry. So the Environmental Commission, what's their mission state? What do they do?
Well, Rick will jump in for that question.
So we were created by an ordinance back in the 70s. So essentially our roles are education, these topics like this. We also review zoning and planning board submissions that are variances to make sure that they're environmentally capable. Biggest thing is ground cover and impervious, those kind of things. In essence, we basically are looking out for the, the interests of the city, and we have 7 members, 2 alternates. We have 3 students that attend from the high school, 2 from Ocean City, 1 from mainland, because you don't have to be in Ocean City to be a student. To be a member of the commission, you have to live here. We have an opening if somebody wants to apply. There's a process online to the boards and commissions webpage of the city. And we look at our biggest event for the year is in February. On President's Day weekend, we have a Family Fun Environmentally Day at the high school cafeteria. About 800 people show up. It's a big turnout. So we have the zoo brings animals, Wetlands Institute brings animals. All the utility companies come talk about conservation. We give out native seeds. We've had lectures on pollinator gardens here in town. We do crafts or reusing materials, trying to keep the kids busy while they're there. So that's kind of a highlight of what we do. We have no enforcement. We have a green team, which is separate than the Environmental Commission, but we work closely with Ralph. Yeah, so, Ralph Cooper.
Good guy.
Can you talk about, from a business perspective, and I guess I'll give you some insight, like one of our biggest challenges is that when we have shipments, the excessive amount of like plastic and packaging is like it's infuriating. Do you have any insight, like has your goal really just been to sort of shift vendors, or are there conversations that you had along the way?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, like, I liked working with the people I worked with, so having conversations with them about your new initiative, right? And I find that most of the time, as long as they have it within their capacity, they don't want to lose your business, so they will help you out. I mean, I've had a couple of vendors that will ship us separate. They will ship us specifically single-use plastic-free to make sure that we keep that relationship together. But it is a lot of work, having those conversations with other business owners and saying, okay, we don't want this, or what else do you have to offer? And sometimes they'll tell you to keep walking, and then that's at which point you walk away and maybe find a new vendor. So, yeah, it is infuriating. And here's another fun fact for everybody in the room. When you buy a new piece of clothing, every single piece of clothing comes in a piece of plastic. Everywhere. So, it's very infuriating.
I like what you did with the tissue paper and trying to get your staff away from using bags, and that's like my pet peeve in my store, because the girls are just so used to giving them bags, trying to get them to use, when the customer has a bag in their hands, ask them to do that first.
Yeah.
How did you get your staff to go from bags to the tissue?
It took a long time, and it's like one of those things I do have to remind them. Like, I was working block party, and one of the women I was working with, she like went for the bag, and I was like, no, I hit her under the table, just reinforcing. But again, it's just like that change in habit, right? We became so used to just like give them the bag, give them all of this, utensils.
You make that tissue up ahead of time, or your girls?
So it's flat, and then when they come up, depending on what they have, we pleat it, and then we put the stuff on it, and we wrap it, and we and we have little washi tape, nice tapes it up real tight. And then, if it looks nice and it's presented nice, they're not going to complain. And I will say like 8 out of the 10, there's always those 2 people who are like, can I have a bag? And on our sign, actually, I'll give them the bag, but I'll say, oh yeah, usually we only give bags for gift wrapping purposes or physical assistance needs. So then I'll like hand it to them under the guise of like, oh, you physically you can't hold this, So. No, I think I've just been focusing on just like eliminate it.
Yeah. I just ask, like, do you need a bag?
Yeah.
And then honestly, probably 60% of the time, they're already carrying a bag from another store, and they're like, oh, I'll just chuck it in here, or I can fit it in my
More so
purse.
now, more so now than a year
Oh,
ago.
yeah, for sure. If you just ask nicely, people are most of the time don't get an attitude or don't
Yeah.
get it.
No, and it's not worth the fight for the people that are. It's like, okay, savage, take the bag, So, cool. Anybody have anything else?
Can you talk a little bit more about the school initiative? What you want to do with school?
Yeah, so I actually have partnered with Lynn Krombach, who is the MUA, she's the community, I forget her exact title, it's like community outreach person. And I'm actually working with her, and we have identified if we can pick our goal is to start in one classroom. So one second grade class and get a pilot project going with that. And the reason why we picked second grade is because those kids still like playing with dirt and maybe going outside, right? So if you entice them with, hey, if it's your responsibility to do the compost this week, you get additional outdoor privileges, we felt like they would have the easiest buy-in for that. Yeah, so the initiative there is we're going to start with one class, and we're going to train those students in that class specifically how to use this system. And I don't want to bore everyone, but I could talk for a very long time about how awesome the subpod system is and how easy they make it. But, you can use the system not only for waste reduction, but also educational purposes. So you can train the kids not only on the waste reduction, but how it actually benefits the soil when you actually put the food waste back in the ground, which is a very controversial topic because nobody's doing it right now.
Could you talk to us about the first week you transitioned from paper towels to the reusable?
First week,
Yeah, because,
I blacked it out, I don't know.
well, I don't know if I'm strong enough to attempt it because I'm a big paper towel user, but.
Yeah, I think the easiest way to do it though is just like, you got to pull the Band-Aid off. So you just like buy the big amount, like buy 200 of them, because then it's not like, oh, I ran out and I have to wash. Another thing that we did at Bowfish was we kind of color coordinate the rags depending on what the use is. So obviously if it's like a neon green rag, you're not going to use that for someone who's like eating lunch because that is the toilet rag, But switching, it's just the investment up front, right, of buying them, and then you'll be surprised how quickly you'll get used to not having it. Because it acts the same, you just grab it, wipe your hands with it, you clean the countertop, and then you have a bin. The other part is making sure you have a place for that, right, designated place for you to drop those paper towels.
Are they like the Swedish dishcloths? Is that kind of what they're like? Like those compostable ones?
No, it's like real fabric. It's kind of more of like a felt kinda, but not really felty. So. Yeah.
They're like a baby blanket if you're gonna swaddle.
Yeah. So. Not too hard. I believe in you. You can do it. You'll save lots of money. Paper towels are the worst. And you know what also sucks is when you own a business is when people take those paper towels and then they shove them in your toilet. So fun. I love when they do that. But if you don't have them for them to shove them in the toilet anymore, then they can't do that. So, another added benefit.
Are you hireable for businesses to support them in revamping the processes and rethinking?
I sure am. I'm actually part of this consulting group called Align. And if you email me, I would love to come and help work through any challenges that you're having in your business. Yeah. And if you came to this presentation, you get those services for free. Cool. Anybody have anything else? Well, thank you so much all for listening to me for the past hour. You're all really good friends. Thank you.